good testosterone genes,
Yeah.
bad estrogen genes though. So
Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
so that's another one of those sections. Estrogen is it's a hot spot, and gut section is a hot spot here. So
Okay.
this is another reason it's tough to put on muscle mass. It's tough to bulk up, because he's fighting a lot of estrogen, and most of these genes basically say, yeah,
Fighting a lot of estrogen. So what I've got drawn on the screen there, this is the brain and this is the ball sack, the factories that make testosterone. So this is, I think, the third video in this series. Dr. Jade, my advisor, 5-year PhD on hormones, got me put this together. And if we fix these 6 issues, then we should be able to get our testosterone back to normal level without fancy supplements. So the other videos are linked below. And to be able to use these 6 steps, we have to have what's called a comprehensive metabolic blood panel. The other videos that I've previously done will shine a torch on that. What I want to do right now is just talk about how we make testosterone as it was taught to me. And importantly, stop this inappropriate negative feedback loop that shuts down testosterone cold. So if we know what that is, then we can take that off the table. So basically, inside your brain, you've got what's called a pulse generator that makes this hormone here called LH. And I'll talk about this study in a moment and just show that we can increase pulse frequency in the amplitude of that pulse to make more LH, to make more testosterone. So the brain does something pretty cool. It releases this hormone called LH, and it makes its way down to the ball sack here, and it makes testosterone. Now, as I mentioned earlier, one thing that shuts that down cold is when we have too much of one particular hormone. That hormone is estrogen. So the question then becomes, what are healthy levels of estrogen? Well, this is Dr. J, and he did his 5-year PhD in hormones. So listen to this expert.
so our natural estrogen is about 20 for men, 20 nanograms per liter.
Right. So if we consistently have estrogen at healthy levels, between 20 and say 30, and we need healthy levels of estrogen. Estrogen is protective of the heart, the arteries, and the microvasculature in your brain. So we certainly need it at healthy levels. But the problem becomes when it goes a bit too high, guess what happens? Let's just say your testosterone is low at about 300 and your estrogen's up high here. We are shut down inappropriately from making high optimal levels. And there's a lot of things that play into that. I'll drive into that shortly. So these things here, and also these 15 points here. I will come back to that. To get to that place, though, we've got to understand a few other things. So this study here, they got normal men, so relatively healthy men. And what they did is block an enzyme called aromatase. Now, what does aromatase do? Aromatase takes testosterone and converts it into estrogen. So this is happening to a lot of men. And when that happens, instead of having healthy levels of estrogen, you've got high levels, and it shuts you down cold even if you're at 300. So if we fix that problem, then the next piece of the puzzle is to metabolize those estrogens continually. So we've got healthy estrogen, then testosterone should climb and climb and climb. But there's a few more pieces of the puzzle we got to look at. You can have optimal testosterone, say 800 or 1,000. But if your free T is low, then you won't feel the effects of testosterone. So we've got to also make sure that we've got a lot of free T, optimal levels of free T. And this really comes down to a few things, none more important than sex hormone globulin, SHBG. And another thing that plays into it is gut health. New research is coming out suggests that if you've got the wrong species of gut microbes, bad gut bugs, as you can see here, it reduces serum and brain testosterone levels by degrading testosterone. So even if everything else is true, however, you've got a sick gut bugs, then it's going to degrade your testosterone. So there's a lot of things we need to get right. And that's why I'm building out these videos. And this is the plan. We've already covered in the previous videos all of these three. And right now, this is what we call the Testosterone Accelerator. It's basically paving the way to give you the foundation to know exactly what to do to fix low testosterone or even average testosterone, say 500 or 600 if you want to get it up a bit higher. Now, everyone's different, but the key idea here is to keep estrogen at healthy levels and SHBG, then we'll have optimal free T as well. And free T is the game. That's what we want to optimize for, is free T. So let's just have a look at a couple of the things that fire up this aromatase enzyme too much. And when it goes up above a certain level, it shuts down testosterone production cold until the liver metabolizes those estrogens. Then you will start making more LH, luteinizing hormone, to make more T. So a couple of things that cause aromatase to be upregulated, as you see here, insulin. Right? Now, here's the big problem, as I mentioned on the other video, which is linked below. You do a standard lab panel from your doctor, and they say anywhere between 2.6 and close to 25 is okay. But as you can see here, if it's in that range, you're going to be wasting a lot of testosterone to estrogen. Estrogen climbs up and shuts down testosterone production cold. So you might only get to 300 or maybe 600 until you shut down. The functional range of fasting insulin is between 2 and 5. Now, I covered all of this on the previous video. So if you want to check that out, it's linked below. But then we've also got problems with cortisol. So if your stress is out of control, you got fear and anxiety, resentment, you're stressed out. And that's exactly what's happening to the world right now. If you're paying any attention, our beloved system government are just causing division and stress. And you can see what's happening. Cortisol is going up, which means estrogen goes up, shuts down testosterone. We feel like shit. We're unmotivated. We're stressed out of our mind. We get to the end of the day, we're just gassed. We can fix this problem, but we've got to understand that mindset is pretty huge too. But testosterone actually helps with mindset when it's at high, consistent levels consistently. Yeah. Then we've got problems with xenoestrogens here. So you've got what science calls foreign estrogens. So you've got chemical estrogens and also estrogens from food. So if we take them off the table, we don't have to worry about them anymore. And that's what a big part of today's video will be all about. Then you've also got free fatty acids in the blood serum here. So on a standard panel, this is what it gets back to the bad labs. A standard panel, they say 150 in blood. No, you're not optimized yet. You need to get it below 100, not ideally about 60 or 80, around about there. But if it's above that, what's happening? Well, your testosterone is being aromatized with estrogen, climbs up and shuts you down cold. Then we've got another problem here. We've got inflammation. So again, with standard labs, they'll say that if your CRP is 3 and below, you're good. Functional research, now cutting edge science is not. It's got to be 1 and below. So if you go to your doctor and he says, oh, you're at 1.5, you're pretty good. Maybe, just maybe you're not. You're taking your hard-earned testosterone, converting into estrogen. It goes to a certain level, shuts you down cold. You start with 300 or 600 testosterone, whereby you might be capable to naturally make lot higher levels than that. So, it's a bit of a nightmare out there for my guys. And that's why I'm putting together this with the help of my advisor, Jade again did a 5-year PhD in hormones. And right here on number 8, number 9, I'm going to give you what we call testosterone boosting activities. And they're pretty simple to do. So when you wake up in the morning, testosterone's pretty high. Ostensibly, you should better keep it up pretty high. Keep pumping out the LH, luteinizing hormone here, providing that you've got stress under control and a few other boxes ticked. Now, you know what really grinds my gears? This. Mainstream, you know what they say? They say as men age, your testosterone declines. You get to 30, 40, 50, and it's down at really low levels. Well, my advice to Dr. J said, and I quote, "It's surprising how little it comes down as you age." And Professor Huberman, endocrinologist, neuroscientist from Stanford, said a few times, and this I quote, "There are men in their 90s, and they are not rare, that are making as much testosterone and dihydrated testosterone as they were in their 20s. So the question becomes, are you okay with the mainstream narrative about your testosterone, your energy declining, your courage, your confidence to attack the day like a beast? You okay with that? So here's what's happening. It's a really stressed out world. There's chemicals and shit everywhere. The government's trying to drive the stake and cause division and stress. This is what happens when the enzyme aromatase, this is what this video is all about, is upregulated. It leads to hypogonadism. What does that mean? Well, the factories, the ball sack, your testicles, that makes testosterone, your man juice, as you can see, the penis, the prostate, and the testes, they scale down. They atrophy. So everybody that listens to mainstream in their advice, if you call it that, that's what's going to happen. That's what will happen to that population. Men, they will fall prey to the system, and they will find it difficult to lose body fat, pack on muscle, be motivated, be driven, want to get out there and be the best man they can be. So what we have to take away here is that all of those things there, which I won't get into now, I'll talk about that towards the end of the video, that is what's robbing your testosterone, converting it into estrogen. Estrogen goes up too high, you shut down cold. And this is what's happening to a lot of men. There's a lot of things going on here. Now, one big thing that I've learned is mindset is huge. I've learned from Professor Sapolsky, an endocrinologist, about 5 decades of research, that in just 2 to 3 minutes, you can increase cortisol by 2-fold. I'll get back to this slide in a moment, but what does that mean? Well, here is cortisol. It's under very tight regulation. So if you get it here, and you should be able to do that, guess what it does? It causes stimulation of testosterone production. But if you're over here, anxious and fearful, resentful, stressed, and angry, well, it inhibits testosterone. But as we now know, cortisol, when it gets to that high level, it takes testosterone through that aromatase enzyme that turns into estrogen. Estrogen creeps up, shuts you down cold until the liver can metabolize those estrogens. So the question becomes, how does the liver do that? Well, there's 5 ways that it does that. So it's in phase 1 and phase 2 liver detox. Basically, the liver makes it water soluble. Then you piss it out, goes into the bile, and you get rid of it through a number 2. And the methods that you do to achieve that result is sulfuration, glucoronation, an enzyme called CONT, catechol methyltransferase. You can speed this enzyme up, but it's all for naught if you don't have enough choline in your diet, because choline is used for bile. It is absolutely key. But when we get to video 7 in this series, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to achieve that. And finally, we've got these 3 pathways here: methylation, folate, and transsulfuration. And again, when we get to video 7 in this series, I'll unpack how we can achieve that to have a high functioning liver. So what does that mean? Well, that means that when your estrogen starts to climb up and get between, say, 20 and 30, it'll keep it there. You'll be metabolizing these estrogens. Your testosterone should be able to climb up, and you should be set. But it's not a cakewalk, right? A lot of people think that, you take this testosterone boosting supplement's going to work. But now we can see that that's not really how it works. We've got to tune up our V8 engine, have all of these systems working at a very high level. And when we achieve that with consistency, especially with the mindset, which I'll talk about on the last video, number 9, that's where we can really take off from life. Now, just to show you what you're missing out on, there's a lot of research behind testosterone. And Dr. J, Dr. Berry, my friends and advisors, we're just blown away by how niche you just brush it off. But if you watch the first video, you have a clear idea of why that's happening. This research paper from Nature, sexual and non-sexual symptoms of testosterone deficiency can negatively affect the quality of your life and cause considerable general health concerns. So what we've got here is decreased energy and vitality, well-being and motivation. Does that sound like you? Well, you miss out on testosterone. Diminished physical or work performance, cognitive work, your money maker, your earning potential, decreased mood, feeling sad and blue, impaired cognition, increased sleepiness and fatigue, especially after meals. Then you've also got poor concentration and memory, increased waist circumference because cortisol stacks it around your abs. Then you've got reduced testes, as we now know. Then we move over here to man boobs, reduced bear growth. Then you've got low sexual desire, libido, and you have difficulty achieving orgasm, and doctors brush it off. They don't care about it because the system, the government doesn't care. They've got big pharma, as we learned from the first video, to try and fix that. But it doesn't really work, does it? So basically, if we lower the activity of the aromatase enzyme, optimize SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, and I'll talk about that in another video. Gut health, liver health, mindset, but also thyroid. See, thyroid is the key to high optimal testosterone. Why is that? Well, thyroid hormone puts more receptors for LH. So LH here, you've got more doors for LH to rush in and say, make testosterone. But thyroid hormone does one more pretty impressive thing. Think of the ball sack as having workers to do shit. Like what? Make testosterone. Now, if you've got more workers in the ball sack, you're going to be able to make more testosterone. So what thyroid hormone does, enzymes in the pathway to make testosterone. So more thyroid, more testosterone, more fat loss, more muscle growth. And the beautiful thing about free tea is it'll go into the brain, lower fear and anxiety, and increase courage, confidence, and optimism. Now, let's just talk about how we can fix this aromatase enzyme by fixing one very simple thing. And that worksheet is linked below. So estrogen-like endocrine disrupting chemicals. So let's just have a look at the problem, and then I'll provide the solution.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, atrazine has got to be up there, depending if it's legal, right? And in Europe, it's totally illegal. 0 is allowed in the drinking water. In America, I mean, they allow 3,000 nanograms per liter in our drinking water.
What does that actually mean in the body?
Yeah, exactly. So our natural estrogen is about 20 for men, 20 nanograms per liter. And again, like nanograms. Yeah. And nanograms, they didn't really have great technology 50 years ago, and they were barely measuring that, and they didn't think it was that big of a deal. But I mean, women are also about 20, which most people don't realize. They range between about 20 and 200, depending on the time of the month. But it's not like men are at 20 and women are at like 5,000, right? Or 20,000 or, anything crazy. It's actually similar enough. If you mess up these levels, men and women get affected. But atrazine, 3,000 nanograms per liter, same units in the drinking water. And what's really crazy about that, if you have a frog, if you put a male frog in 300 nanograms per liter of drinking water, And again, just put 300 put 300 of atrazine in there, excuse me.
Yeah.
That male frog turns into a female. And
Wow.
and we're drinking 3,000, you know?
3,000.
So clearly you have to filter your drinking water. I mean, you know, it just has to be done with.
It just has to be done. So yeah, you want to filter that old drinking water. So you can see the problem. It's kind of everywhere. And I'm going to give you plans for this. Check this out. These chemicals are estrogenic, right? They mimic estrogen. So what does that bring? Well, as we know, the brain thinks that you've got high estrogen levels. So what happens? We now know that it causes this negative feedback loop. It shuts down LH column. So your testosterone starts to go to 300 or, you know, maybe 500, depending on how old you are. And that's what's happening. And it's anti-androgen, which means it's testosterone. It lowers T. But guess what else it does? Now, we know that thyroid hormone boosts testosterone. So it's a triple whammy. Not only does it mimic estrogen, lower testosterone, but it screws up thyroid hormones. So you've also got things like pain meds, and that's because Big Pharma has had something to do with it. This book by Shannon Shawn, PhD, as she says, Tylenol can have an anti-androgenic effect. It lowers testosterone. Now, this is where it gets kind of shit. Developmentally speaking, the default rate is female, which means that if the expectant mother is exposed to these anti-androgenic chemicals during a pregnancy, listen carefully to this, her male baby is likely to have a slightly less male typical brain and male typical behavior, as we have shown in our studies. It kind of sounds like this is what's happening to our generations of boys turning into men. Well, I don't think it's their fault. I think that the system has planned this for a very long time because guess what? They say low dose is fine. And if you think about just having 300, as Dr. J said there, turning a male frog into a female, we're supposed to have like 20 to 30. Low dose isn't fine. Let me repeat that. We're supposed to have 20 to 30. So low dose isn't fine. We're being shut down. We're being turned into estrogen dominant men. Are you okay with that? If you're not, and you like this information, give it a thumbs up, share it, join in the conversation below, because I'm sick and tired of this happening to men all around the world. I want them to understand that they can fix this, because you can. Certainly it takes time, but you can get there. And there's lots of supplements like melatonin. It blocks luteinizing. So when you sleep, you can create a lot of testosterone in about 4 or 5 hours. But if you take a melatonin, you shut down cold from making luteinizing hormone that says, hey, ballsack, let's make some tea. Let's make lots and lots of tea. So we wake up in the morning, we're fucking ready to go. We're charged. We're in beast mode. We're motivated. We're going to attack the day like a beast. It's not happening. And these supplements are a big, big problem. Now, let's just quickly talk about Big Pharma. Now, as we now know, they're in pharmaceuticals. And that's why a lot of the Big Pharma meds, they lower testosterone. But to make matters worse, as Dr. Kim Berry explained to me, is that they take your testosterone, which you are making, which isn't a lot, and they're taken through that aromatase enzyme, turning into estrogen, so you just shut down cold all the time. This is going to be hard to hear. You won't like hearing this. This is going to suck. Over time, with chronic low testosterone, the penis, prostate, and the testes scale down, shrink, and atrophy. So they're the factories that make your T, your angios. And everything that mainstream says about men with low T comes true. Are you going to roll over and take that? I think we can put it together and get you back in the game. And that's what I'm here to do. So this shit's everywhere. I mean, it's even in polar bears, for Christ's sake. It's in dolphins and sea otters. More research here, anti-androgenic chemicals. And this, again, is hard to hear. It disrupts androgen action in fetal life, irreversible demasculinizing consequences. So if you know of anybody that's planning on having children in this stressed out world, warned them about these chemicals. It's in sunscreen. And what I learned from Dr. J was shocking. Just one dose can last in your bloodstream for 7 days. But that's not all. These chemicals, when UVB light hits the sunscreen, guess what happens? It bakes onto the estrogen receptor and is stuck in the on position, right? So you're shut down cold for days and days and days. And more research on these chemicals. So we've got 2 forms of testosterone. You've got good old T and you've got DHT, dihydrotestosterone. And dihydrotestosterone, listen carefully to this. DHT has 2 to 5 times higher binding affinity to the androgen receptor, right? Much more powerful, and a 10-fold higher potency than testosterone. And these chemicals, as this scientific paper says, low doses, complete suppression of dihydrotestosterone. It's the supercharger of testosterone. And I want to give as much value as I can. If you take things like curcumins, lots of spices, as I learned from Professor Human there, that shut off an enzyme that does this. So you've got your testosterone, it can go basically 2 ways. You can go to dihydro, testosterone or estrogen. Guess where it's not going? To dihydro. So if your estrogen's up too high, you're missing out on dihydro. You see the problem here? Like there's so many things that we can do, but if you keep listening to mainstream and also the supplement companies take this and that and the other thing, we're never going to be optimized. You got to keep it simple. So that's what I've learned. Now, this has gone back a long, long time. This is what Whippy grinds gears. This research paper here, 2007, 10 years. So we've known since 1997, at least since then, that these chemicals are estrogen-like, shutting us down, and they lower testosterone, and they screw up thyroid hormones. Now, Australian scientists think, this is crazy, 2019, they said in Melbourne, Australia, to the government, we've got to get rid of atrazine because the European Union banned atrazine in 2004. In America, in Australia, it's still everywhere, atrazine. It is potent estrogen-like substance, and it's everywhere. It's in our water, it's on golf courses, it's everywhere, and it's coming into our bodies. It's not coming into mine, and that's what I want to give you here today. It's also in fast food, lots more of it in fast food. It's in these non-stick fry pans. It's in water that we think is safe. And these PFASs, PFOAs, they're a big problem. Before I get there, here's a great book that you can get. And this is really powerful to know, is that once you get loss of chemical tolerance, so these chemicals come into your bodies, the older you get, the worse it becomes. You lose your tolerance of them. You can't get rid of them. They start to be stored in the body. And when we're storing in the body, that's dangerous. So these chemicals can damage the kidney. They can impair amino acid and urine metabolism. It's pretty nasty. Oxidative stress, fibrosis, which you cannot recover from, maybe with stem cell therapy, inflammation. And as we know, estrogen goes up, shuts testosterone down to make matters worse. You have reduced testosterone levels. Testicular dysgenesis, so they atrophy and get sick, can cause fibrosis, which you can't recover from. Obesity, asthma, allergies, cancer, and they inhibit fat oxidization in the liver. So what does that mean? Let's have a look. So this research paper here, basically these PFOASs inhibit fat oxidization. So when you get your blood done on a standard panel, they say like 150 is okay. That could be you there. But as we now know, when your free fatty acids are up, what's happening? Well, testosterone is going through that aromatase enzyme return estrogen, goes up, shuts you down cold. Yeah, and these scientists, this is just mind blowing. Scientists have found these PFASs in the top of Mount fucking Everest. But there's a protection against that. In video number 7, I will provide you with that protection. And they found these chemicals. Scientists, get this, they did tests in homes and offices. In 100% of samples, they found these chemicals, all of them. So that's why on video number 7, I'll show you how to fix that problem. They're in fast foods. The Endocrine Society put out a warning in 2009 to the 2014, but the government does not care. It just couldn't give a shit. So the scientists had to classify these chemicals as obesogens, diabetogens. They drive obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease. And this is what's happening, right? They're increasing testosterone. Get back to that slide, increasing testosterone to be aromatase or estrogen. This is how we're living. And we think we're lazy losers. We blame ourselves. We think we're ourselves. Oh, geez, what's wrong with me? That's what's wrong with you. Can you see the problem? This is what our stupid, dumbass system has set up for us. And they say it's okay. I don't think it's okay. So one, testosterone, here's another research paper. You've also got diabetes, cardiovascular disease. Your meat doesn't work too well. So, you get to a certain age and you go, maybe I shouldn't have sex if I don't get it up. I don't want to embarrass myself. And that puts more stress on you and makes it even worse. Then you've also got more fat than you care to have. You've got inflammation and cytokines. You've got endothelial dysfunctions, heart disease, and insulin resistance. So they are turning us into that person, and that's not who we are. We can fix this. So another thing you've got to consider is that aromatase loves fat. The more fat you have, the more aromatase. That's why I tell all the people in the wheel, we've got to rip off the body fat fast. And I'll talk about that in future videos. So we don't have a lot of aromatase activity. So when you get down to a certain body fat, say 15 or 12, you should be pretty good at that point. But we have to get there. And what basically we've got is we've got to personal care products. They're also in synthetic clothes. We call petrochemicals. They're in fry pans. They're in your pantry. There are lots of foods that you eat. We know that we have air pollution. And what I'm going to show you somewhere in these videos is to stop selecting for F and C grade foods. Instead, select for A plus B grade foods. All right. That's what we want to select for. And clearly, we have to go organic. Those pesticides are nasty fucking shit. So eventually you'll get to this place here. As you can see, you'll still get a bit of chemical, but your liver can detox it. And when we get to this video here, number 7, I'll show you how to fix that problem. So again, remember, there are men in their 90s, which is not rare, that are making as much testosterone and dihydrotestosterone testosterone as they were in the 20s. And look at what you're missing out on. This is what testosterone does. Why handicap yourself? Significantly slows fat accumulation and improves insulin resistance as a primary anti-inflammatory effect. Now, I'm just going to play a short video here from Dr. J, all about how testosterone does that powerful thing.
Discs in the back goes back to testosterone. This probably has some low back stuff. There's plus in the sheet. Almost everybody complains low back pain. Thanks.
Yep.
But it's all about testosterone to keep that at bay, to protect against future problems there. Testosterone.
How does testosterone do that?
It shuts off interleukins. And interleukins kind of like CRP. It's a form of inflammation.
Right. Okay.
And there's 24 of them. There's IL-1, there's IL-2, there's IL-3, all there's 24. And some of them are in your knees, and some are in your elbows, and some are in your discs in your back, and some are in your brain.
Yeah.
And so like this particular one, IL-1 alpha, it's called interleukin 1 alpha. It's in your discs in your low back.
Yep.
And it can get out of hand and just cause specific low back disc degeneration, disc pain, bulging discs, and all this kind of stuff. If you have inflammation there all the time, and testosterone shuts it off.
So I guess testosterone would be a very powerful lever to pull down on to get rid of inflammation when it's up at the right
Yep.
level.
Exactly. Yeah. In general,
Yeah.
especially in low back, you know.
Mm.
That's why the drug companies hate it, right? Because if you have nice high testosterone, it's going to heal a lot of chronic issues that they're prescribing drugs for, like arthritis and gut issues, like IBS. They have all these drugs for irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's just like on and on.
Testosterone is like a magic trick to bring down inflammation all over the body.
Exactly. So yeah, but yeah, the bone density is good. He's got.
Can you see the issues there? You got low back pain. You got gut problems. Testosterone, powerful anti-inflammatory. So yeah, you can see what the drug companies don't want you to have high T, and they lobby the government, the bureaucrats, and here we are. But we can fix this. Significantly reduces fat mass. Well, we know that. But what I find fascinating about testosterone is status hormone. So it makes you rise to challenge, but in a good way. Like, I can do this. I'm going to get after this. I'm going to attack this. Yeah, I'm going to get at this in a very positive way. And it lowers fear and anxiety, increases confidence, courage, and optimism, bone strength and mass, muscle mass and strength, sexual performance and fertility, makes effort feel good, and it's required for brain trophic supports. If you want a thriving brain, you need testosterone to be in the up position. Now, another thing that I learned about testosterone from Sapolsky in his book, Behave, fantastic book. It's called the Wesley effect. Have you heard about it? Well, heterosexual women prefer the smell of high testosterone men because we release these pheromones when you got high T. So you can have two dudes side by side, same attractiveness. If they don't open their mouth and there's a woman there, they're going to go for the high testosterone dude. And they're not going to even know why. And let's just say that dude is a bit of a douchebag and he opens his mouth. Well, maybe she might go for the other dude. But you don't want to disadvantage yourself. And that is the research. So I did this with fMRI brain imaging. So pretty fascinating stuff. My question to you, actually, before I get there, I just want to show you the pesticides. This is why I want you to go organic. These pesticides here, let me read and quote off this study. Exposure to pesticides interfere with testosterone synthesis, cascade by downregulating CAMP, protein kinase A levels, and suppressing the expression of steroidogenic genes, right? So you see protein kinase A there, CAMP, GMP. So it's just screwing up the production of testosterone. So next time you think organic, don't go, oh, that's for Fruit Loops. Well, is it? If you want high apple tea, that shit serves no purpose in you. And guess what? It not only destroys your ability to make tea, it pushes up estrogen. So it's like double whammy. It's shutting you down cold from making testosterone, which leads to the testes shrinking, and it's destroying your testes right there and then. And the government says it's fine, no problem. If you recall the first video, Dr. Ken Berry said to me, there's a subset of the population that believes that the government knows everything about men's low testosterone, but they don't care. Why? Because can you imagine trying to govern a population of men with high upward testosterone? If you were the government, that would not go very well for you. So we're going to rise up and get this shit back. They stole it from us, and we're going to take it back. We're going to take it back like the men we are. The testosterone equation. So let's just say you want the body. What's the likelihood of you getting that body? You're going to struggle. You're going to hire all these PTs. It's just going to be so difficult to do. What about if you want to have increased cognition and memory to be the best entrepreneur you can be? What's the chance of you creating wealth in your life? What's the chance of you being motivated? Poor. But what's the chances of you having anxiety, depression, and libido if you stay here and listen to their dumb advice? Man boobs, heart disease, weak erections, decreased muscle mass. All this goes on and on and on. So the final thing that I want to share with you is what I learned from the people that I've spoken to. So I want to play a couple of videos here before I close this out. And again, legends, if you like these videos, drop a comment below, ask any questions you want. I'm here to help, and share and like this so we can reach more men, so we can fix this problem once and for all, and we can rise up and fight for what we believe in instead of just going through the day, going through the motions. So Dr. Amy B. Keeling, I spoke to her at the beginning of 2020, and I was very interested to learn more about testosterone. And this is what she said to me, and it shook me to the core. I knew it was important. However, I didn't know how critical it was for men to be optimized for testosterone for life. Listen to this.
It's also things that are even more important. We know that men who have lower testosterone levels, they tend to have higher mortality rates in general. So all-cause mortality is higher in men with the lowest quartile of testosterone levels. So we're going to see increases in things like cardiovascular disease, so heart attacks, strokes are going to go up generally if you have low testosterone, increased diabetes, increased obesity, increased problems with mood disorders, depression, insomnia, anxiety. All of that goes up as you have lower testosterone levels. And then certainly sexual dysfunction. So everything from low libido to low sperm counts and infertility are all associated with low testosterone. So it's not something that we should just brush off of being like, it's no big deal. Like, it's kind of a big deal. It actually means that our men are getting less and less healthy, and they're more and more likely to suffer from some kind of disease problem.
So Dr. Amy is an MD, and she's saying, why do MDs brush it off? Because the government, the system tells them to. They get big pharma to come in with their drugs, which lower T, number one. Number two, it increases the conversion of what little testosterone we're making to estrogen to shut us down cold and make us feel like garbage. Listen to this. Over time, our energy comes down, our testosterone comes down.
That's normal.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not normal, is it? It's not normal.
exactly.
I remember Professor Huberman on a podcast, and he said that there's men in their 90s, and he said this isn't rare, and they've got as much testosterone and dihydrotestosterone as they did in their 20s.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Yep.
It's surprising how little it goes down with age.
Yep.
If you optimize your health,
Yeah. And this is optimize your health. And to work that out, the second video, link below, will show you how to do that. Now, this is where Big Pharma comes.
It's not thriving. It's definitely suboptimal. It's frustrating, honestly. I mean, especially on the topic of testosterone, because if your testosterone goes down, just your health in general goes down. So that opens the door to a bunch of prescription drugs.
Yeah.
And so the pharma companies are very excited about keeping your testosterone down from a financial perspective.
Exactly.
As a business model, it's a good idea for them.
Yeah. Business model. So they lobby the government. You can see how this works. And Dr. Ken Berry just speaking about their drugs.
All those things are symptoms of low testosterone. And there's a long list of prescription medications that you might be taking from your doctor, your doctor that you trust, that could actually be plummeting your testosterone levels. I've got a YouTube video about medications that lower testosterone. In case any of you guys are taking a medication, you can watch that video and make sure you're not taking one that does, by definition, lower your testosterone. But if a man has all these symptoms, he's got to get his testosterone checked, number one. And number two, he's got to start eating a proper human diet, which consists of the 5 steps I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And then eating things that our DNA know is real food. But
That's key. We'll talk about that in future videos, optimizing your genetics with food. So as you can see, it's a bit of a problem. Now, the question becomes, where do you want to be knowing this information when you're in this age bracket? You want to be down here somewhere, struggling with everything, cognition, memory, staying lean, muscular, being motivated, being ambitious? Or do you want to be somewhere in this bracket up here? Now, this is going to be very difficult here, but this is what Dr. Ken said to me. And again, it's not easy to hear. But remember, you can undo the damage that the system has caused you if you don't leave it too late.
absolutely, it's often too late by the time you've become financially comfortable.
Yeah.
Very often you've done so much damage to every tiny artery in your body that you're now stuck with permanent erectile dysfunction or permanent forgetfulness or permanent insomnia, permanent shortness of breath, chest pain, right? Gut issues. You've done so much damage. Some of it can't be taken back. And that's why I'm so active on social media, constantly reaching out and trying to help people, because once it's too late, you might regain a little bit of that function, but it's never going to be like it once was. And it's never going to be like it could have been.
Yeah.
And that's very sad to think about it, that somebody's basically handicapped for the rest of their life, physically or mentally or emotionally, because of bad dietary decisions that they made for the first few decades of their life that they didn't realize were bad decisions. Because,
Well, I guess now we kind of understand the problem there. So the first thing we're going to get off the table is chemicals. As we can see, they're pretty nasty. I've got an elimination plan down below. And, this is the easiest thing to start with now. And just to summarize what we've spoken about here today and what we're going to do with these videos, very simply, we just want to stop the inappropriate inhibition of getting high upward testosterone, right? And that namely comes from the 15 things that I'll mention in subsequent videos there. And also optimizing sex hormone binding globulin. Gut health plays into it, liver health plays into it, thyroid does too. But mindset is huge. But the paradox is that when your testosterone comes back, the mindset is much, much stronger, because fear and anxiety come down, motivation, energy, effort all come back up, and you feel like the man you were born to be. So, legends, if you like these videos, during the conversation below, let's get active again, motivated again, and do what we're supposed to do as men. I'm old school, I'm nearly 52, and I love life. It was never like that for me for a lot of years. I had panic attacks, performance anxiety. I was deeply worried about what other people thought of me, so much so that I had hair transplants. I was a mess. I was a broken man, 4 kids and a beautiful wife. I'm just so blessed that I reached out to these experts and finally got my shit together, got back in the game. And that's what it really comes down to. Because if you think about it, it's not complicated to get there, but supplements aren't going to do it. Not one size fits all when it comes to food. We are so different. And on the 6th video, I'll show you exactly what to do with food, how to approach, where to go, what to do. And it's not rocket science either. And that's a great and exciting news. Once you piece all this together, it gives you the framework, the blueprint to get your shit back in the game, your testosterone, your muscle, your strength, your mindset, all of it. We can do this. We've got to stand up and fight for what we believe in. And the only way to do that is get our body and our mind strong. And that's what I've done, and that's what I want for you. So that's all I've got to say for this video. If you've got any information or comments, drop them below, and I'll see you on the next video.